If you lead a remote sales team, the biggest factor that you need to optimize in order to scale past the 7 and 8 figures is team culture. Without a strong culture, even a team with the most talented sales reps out there will eventually become unengaged, disinterested, and then they'll just fail and quit. So today, I'll share with you exactly what you can do step by step in order to build this team culture, which will allow all of your team members to perform at their absolute best. In case y'all don't know me, my name is Lloyd Yip. I've been in sales for over 10 years now, starting from door to door, but then eventually moving to software sales and even building my own company where I now help recruit and train salespeople for other companies around the world. And in this time, I've learned so much about what it takes to build successful sales organizations, especially when it comes to remote first organizations, which is obviously what a lot of companies these days are transitioning into. First, I'm gonna highlight for you what exactly makes a strong culture, and then I'll go through the actual steps that you need to implement in order to actually set up your organization. And finally, I'll go into the exact things that you need to do to build a strong culture into even a remote first team. Because obviously, it's quite a lot easier to build that strong culture when everyone's working in the same office. But when it comes to everyone working from home in different parts of the world, there's certainly a couple considerations that you also have to make. All right, so first off, why is culture even important? So let me use an analogy from my favorite sport, basketball. So in 2013, the LA Lakers had assembled what at the time people thought could have been the greatest team of all time. You had Kobe Bryant, who's so famous and such a legend in the sport that even my mom, who has zero interest in anything sports related, knows his name. Then you had Pau Gasol, an all-star. And then in 2013, they added 2 additional guys who were MVP level players. So they were destined to steamroll everyone. But what happened? Well, not only did they not steamroll everyone, they actually didn't win a single game in the playoffs, and they ended up flaming out embarrassingly. A lot of you non-sports fans are probably thinking, Lloyd, why does this even matter? But this exemplifies the reason why culture is actually critical. The issue with this LA Lakers team is that the individual components of the team were not united. Everyone was playing for their own egos, their own agendas. In contrast, every single year, there's a team that has frankly, a bunch of untalented scrubs, but they really like to play with each other and they always overperform relative to their talent level. And this is no different in sales. You can have a bunch of A players, but unless you can build an amazing environment around them, they're probably going to perform under the sum of their parts. Whereas if you have a great situation, a great culture, then they're gonna actually perform above expectations. So I'm gonna actually share with you the exact steps to create this culture as well within your own organization. But first, just drop me a quick like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. There's gonna be a ton of additional content heading your way about sales, about just improving the scalability of your business, and you definitely don't want to be missing it. So how do you start creating this culture? Well, the first step is that everyone should be unified under a common mission and goal that they believe in. For example, Elon Musk founded SpaceX with a core mission of making humanity an interplanetary species. So it's a very epic mission. It's something that people can actually get behind. So SpaceX, they famously overwork their employees to near death. And frankly, they don't pay as good as a lot of other high-end technology companies, yet why do people still clamor to work there? The reason why is because there's a common mission that connects everyone. Now, I get it, you don't run a space exploration company, and that's totally fine. But do you still have a mission that you can stand behind? Let's say you're running a company which helps farmers learn how to make more money by building sales funnels or marketing campaigns. This is pretty generic, but if you have a mission that says, hey, we want to help 1 million farmers around the world become more profitable and ultimately provide healthier food to humanity everywhere. Now that's a mission statement. That's something that when you hire people, they can get behind and can connect everyone in your organization to a common goal. And this mission is something that you should absolutely bring up even during your hiring process. Because if you can meet people who not only seem interested in making money or career progression, but they actually seem as though they're fascinated by the goal of your company in and of itself, that person's gonna be a whole lot more likely to contribute and be focused even through the hard times. The second step is that you build a work environment that everyone wants to actually perform at their best in. And this type of environment has a couple of properties. The first property is that people are competitive with each other in a healthy way. Just like in the sports team, a great sales team should have a little bit of competition. You want reps who actually desire to be the best, to be at the top of the leaderboard. But you want this to be a healthy competition as well, because if you don't have a healthy competition, you might risk ending up having these reps that are actually trying to tear each other down, or they're not gonna help each other because they're afraid of someone else beating their own numbers. And this is why I like having leaderboards. I like having commissions visible to everyone within the entire sales organization, and that way people can actually see where they rank, and they want to be number one because it's celebrated within the organization. But in the same way, I still want to have team bonuses, whether it be everyone in the sales team gets to go on a ski trip if the team collectively makes their KPI. To give you an example, one of the coolest experiences that I ever had in my sales career was when our entire sales team had a goal to finish the year bringing in around $500,000 for that final quarter. And if we got it, we actually had an all expenses paid golf trip. And that was something that we were super motivated by. So it literally came down to the final hour of the final day. And when one of our reps finally managed to close that last deal at literally the final 10 minutes of the quarter, we literally just dogpiled on each other in the middle of the sales floor. That was such a cool team experience. We were all hyping each other up, but we were still very competitive at the same time because we all still wanted to be number one in that leadership board. So that's one of the ways in which you can build a competitive atmosphere. The second thing that you want to build into the environment of your sales team is that people feel safe when they need to ask for help. Because what you definitely don't want is someone to be struggling, but they're embarrassed or they're afraid of how other people will react when they're asking for help. You want people to feel very comfortable in saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm struggling with objection handling. Maybe I'm struggling with discovery questions. Whatever it may be, if we can build this environment where people feel like, okay, I can be vulnerable, I can ask for help, and things are gonna be fine, that is gonna be a much more beneficial environment for us to generate really great results in. There's an often cliche statement that says, oh, there's no such thing as stupid questions. But truth be told, a lot of environments don't actually foster that mentality. And that's especially the case when there's a manager that ignores when people ask for help, or they laugh at them, or they talk down to them saying, hey, you should actually just know this. Why are you bothering me asking this dumb question? It's critical to build this environment where people are actively encouraged to ask questions and provide support for each other. One of the really cool things that my old startup actually did was once a month, they even had this meeting, which was 100% just about sharing fears, sharing frustrations, sharing things that they're struggling at. And it was a safe space for everyone to actually say, you know what? I'm having a difficult time. And this was amazing because once people were able to do that, not only did it relieve a lot of their stress knowing that they were all in it together, but now you had other people that could hear what the struggles were and they could step in and be like, hey, you know what? Actually, I know how to fix that. Here's how I can help. The third point is that people feel supported when they're struggling. Sales can be an emotional roller coaster. A lot of sales reps will eventually go on a cold streak where maybe it's days, weeks, or even months where they just cannot close a deal or get good success. And sometimes sales reps will just kind of revert into themselves. But when it comes to your management style, you need to be proactively reaching out and lending a helping hand. You want to build a culture where if anyone sees someone else struggling, they're not going to wait for that person to come and ask for help. Obviously, there should be a safe space to do so, but take the initiative and say, hey, Bob, I noticed that you were not closing very many deals. Why don't we actually just jump aside? We can check out some of your most recent call recordings. Let's see if there's anything I can do to help, right? Having one-on-ones built into your management protocol every single week is important. Having proactive role plays or coaching sessions set up so that you can actually assist before someone even needs the help can be really, really important. It's all about being as proactive as you can as a manager to make sure that you're helping people even before they need it. The fourth thing that you want to build into your culture to make sure it fosters this aura of positivity is to make sure that people feel appreciated when they succeed. Because a lot of the times people will perform well, but if you don't actually say, hey, you know what, you're doing a great job, if you don't recognize them, if you don't shout them out and give them kudos in public, they might just think to themselves, you know what, It doesn't even seem like people care about the fact that I'm doing so well. Back when I was at my old startup, we would have this end of the month celebration meeting where we would go through the numbers from the previous month, and the top performers would actually get put up on the PowerPoint slide and everyone would see, and they would say, hey, you know what, Lloyd did super well this month. Hey, Brandon did super well this month. And on occasion, we would even give that person like a prize or a trophy of some kind. This didn't cost the company really any money. But the fact is, it did so much for the employee morale. It actually feeds into that competitive atmosphere that I was talking about in point one, but it's done in a very healthy way. And it just shows people that, you know what, we appreciate you and we actually value your services, and every single time you're bringing your energy to the sales floor is making a huge impact. This makes a huge difference. I've actually seen many sales reps who've quit their jobs because they were doing super well, but no one seemed to care. So this just isn't a positive environment to be building. So number 5 is that you take the time to actually get to know everyone personally, because a big part of team culture is just getting to understand people on a human level. And definitely when it comes to being in an office, this is a lot easier. That's why we always talk about the water cooler talk or the lunch talk, where everyone just gets those 10 to 30 minutes of not really being so absorbed in work, but still having those conversations with their colleagues. When you randomly talk about your weekend or about the sports game from last night or whatever else, it really allows you to become much more friendly with your colleagues over time. And these friendships tie people together, and it makes the overall work environment just a lot more fun. Now, when it comes to remote workplaces, it's a little bit harder to build these natural friendships because there's less frequent occurrences in which you can just talk to people about whatever. So in order to create that environment, you gotta be a bit more proactive. So building a remote team first, you gotta set aside specific time to ask each other about how things are going. Maybe that's just asking someone in the first meeting on each Monday, hey, how was your weekend? Or maybe it's even planning out specific times in which you have lunch together over Zoom. I actually used to do that with my old startup, where because everyone was working around the world, where at least once a week, we would actually eat lunch together over Zoom, and we would just chit chat about everything outside of work. One thing that I've also seen work incredibly well with these remote offices is maybe once a year, if you're doing super well, fly everyone out to bring them together to meet in person. And it's such a cool trip because a lot of the times these employees, they might have actually never met each other face to face, but they're friends because they've connected so often online. But to actually finally meet really raises the morale, and it shows them that you really care because you're actually spending the money to bring them all out there. And it's cool how much additional productivity you can do when everyone's connected even just for 1 week in person. The final step to building this really solid work environment is to actually get rid of the people who are toxic. Just fire them, because building a great culture is very difficult, yet breaking it is quite incredibly easy. All it takes are a couple people who are constantly negative or selfish and just generally bad team players, and this creates a toxicity that will seep through the entire workforce. It's so important that you fire these toxic people that even if it's your top performers who are the ones that are toxic, it's better to let them go. You're fired! Because the reality is, even if this top performer is generating a lot of sales for you, if they're the reason why everyone else is only working at 50% capacity and that half your team wants to quit because they're just so sick and tired of dealing with this person's stuff, it's just not worth having that person around. So let them go and really try to bring in people that will enforce this overall team culture. Now, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you want your sales team to be performing at their absolute best. But what happens when your sales team is actually struggling, when you have reps that are failing and missing quota? Well, I created a video that goes super deep into how you can actually fix this problem and turning around unsuccessful sales reps into profitable ones. So check that video out here. And by the way, I've actually helped over 120 different companies when it comes to building their sales team, when it comes to improving their sales process and their operations so that they could reach new levels of scale and growth. So if that's something that you would like me to help you out with, then just book a call with me below and we can have a quick chat. I'll give you a couple recommendations, all right? So with that being said, this is Lloyd once again, and have a good day. Cheers.